So in the previous section, we understand about time complexity and work complexity and how work complexity will be always constant. Now, how it is relevant in enterprise. What happens in enterprise is we have some data which is having lot of importance, and this is the data like financial records of all the individual person, their main data where their names are stored, their location are stored, their address are stored, to which person they transferred money. All those sensitive records are present, and also their username and password. The second type of data can be the data which might be important for the business but not very important. For example, in the first case, if a data is very crucial and important, that might sometime also get required on transaction level. For example, if I'm doing a transaction and paying some money, then I should be also aware how much money I have in my bank account. So this data is required on a transaction level, and when I'm doing those transactions, I need to understand what is the stored data value. The second category which we are talking is might be important. For example, what was my response to a mail campaign which was sent by the bank? Bank is trying to sell credit card and they send every one of the customer the credit card. What is my response here for the mail? That can be one data point which might not be useful in the transaction, might be useful in analytics, understanding the behavior of users, which is me actually. And the third type of data will be something which might not be that useful. For example, if I have a lot of system in place and those systems are generating server logs, there are log files which is informing us how the service is doing, which are dumping data into this file, and they are doing it every day, every hour, and every minute. And this type of data might not be that crucial for the business. It is only crucial for analyzing and understanding. If I ran into a situation, my system and database crashed, and I'm doing debugging to understand where the problem is. And this doesn't happen often in the business, but still this data is useful in those type of situations or scenario. Now, these are three categories in which data can be of importance to business and what business should do. Business should take care the most important data and put it into some place where it can access it fast. And because it is important and crucial to the business, they will be putting it in a system which is robust and highly secure as well. The second type of data which is useful but not very often, and the third type of data which might not be useful much in certain kind of scenario will be useful, can also be put someplace which might not be a premium valued storage. So what we saw here is we have two categories of data. The first is which is hot for the business, and the second one which is not that hot. We normally refer to that as a cold data source. And the common practice is we put the hot data in the ERP system, main memory, or the system which is actually going to process it. For example, when we are using SAP, we are putting this data into SAP HANA system. And the cold storage, sometimes we use Hadoop because there will be a lot of events happening and campaign going on for our marketing team. Those sort of data will be generated in huge quantity, and those kind of data will be stored in a system which is comparatively inexpensive in nature, and we use Hadoop to store our cold data source, and we use system like SAP HANA to store our hot source of data. So this is the existing architecture which many of the companies are following, and they are able to hit a right balance between money spent on the systems and storage and IT infrastructure and the demand of the data. So to put it in a nutshell, you will be using system like SAP HANA as a hot data source in your enterprise, and this data source will be working on OLTP, which is online transaction protocol, where transactions are happening, using like Hadoop to store your cold data source, which is data which is not that much used, and sometimes those data comes into online analytical protocol as well, which is often referred as OLAP. And OLAP is normally used for pulling analytics over a huge set of data. So in the next section, we will look into more on Hadoop and how Hadoop stores data. Now, regarding the analytics, we are using Hadoop, and we are using Spark on top of Hadoop. We will be discussing more about Spark and why we have to invent Spark. But initially, we will look into architecture of Hadoop and how it's able to manage to store big data and process over it, and what other part we have in the Hadoop. Now, one of the prominent reason for using Hadoop is it's open source and it's free of charges of any licensing fees, and has a big ecosystem which supports the development and enhancement over Hadoop. So that's also a main reason why a lot of companies try to implement Hadoop and take advantage to store big data and also put analytics over it. Some of the systems also use online transaction protocol with Spark. We'll look into it in the next sprint, where we are going to use Spark and Spin on top of Hadoop storage as well. So let's go in the next section, where we are going to see the architecture of Hadoop.